This video is on the review for graphing using intercepts. So it's graphing from standard form, and we're not going to rewrite it into slope-intercept form. We're just going to graph it straight from this. So if you haven't done this review yet, you need to do it first, and then watch the video and grade yourself, see where you missed, if anything, and then get ready for your test. All right, number one. Number one says x minus y equals 4. Well, if you remember, what we really have to do is just kind of put our finger over each of the other variables. So like this is x equals 4 is one of them, and then negative y equals 4, so negative 1y equals 4 is in the other one. Okay, so negative 1y equals 4. We have to solve this. So we're going to divide by negative 1, and we get that y equals negative 4. So these are the intercepts that I'm talking about. All we have to do now is graph those 2 points and then connect them, and they'll be the line that we're talking about. So I'm going to zoom out here. So x equals 4 was the first one. So this is the x-axis, and this is the y-axis. So I'm going to plot x is 4. Well, x is positive 4, so that means we're going to go over 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's our first point. And the next thing that we found out was y was negative 4. So we'll start at 0 and we go down 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we're going to connect those dots. And that's going to be the equation. That's going to be the graph of that equation. So we need to find something that looks like that. This is really hard to see. So it has to pass through positive 4 on the x-axis and negative 4 on the y-axis. And I can tell already that it's going to be letter A. Letter A is the only one that passes through positive 4 on the x-axis and negative 4 on the y-axis. This is a negative slope, that's no good. Negative slope, no good. This one is kind of opposite, where it passes through. D, it's opposite. So just be careful that you know what you're looking for. That way when you find it, you're in good shape. All right, let's try number 2. Number 2 says x minus 2y equals 4. Well, the first thing that we're going to do is put our finger over the y, and it says x equals 4. So that one's already done for us. We didn't have to solve that one at all. But we do have to solve this one. Negative 2y equals 4. Then we divide by negative 2, and we get that y equals negative 2. So these are our 2 intercepts. So I'm going to graph those, and I'm going to write them just so we remember what they are. It was, I'm going to zoom out here. It was x equals 4 and y equals negative 2. It doesn't matter which one we plot first, but 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2. So there's my 2 intercepts, and then I'm going to make my line. So I'm looking for a graph that passes through at positive 4 and at negative 2. So let's see if we can find positive 4 and negative 2. And it's A again. All right, number 3. Number 3 looks pretty easy. We are barely going to have to do any algebra. It says x plus y equals 1. All right, first thing we're going to do is get rid of the y. So it's x equals 1. Then we're going to get rid of the x, and it says y equals 1. we did not actually have to solve anything. Those were both, because the variables didn't have any coefficients and they were both positive, it was really just a matter of reading it. So x is 1 and y is 1. Both positive. I don't even have to zoom out for this one. The line is going to be at positive 1 and at positive 1. So it's going to look like that. So let's find out which graph has intercepts of positive 1 and positive 1. And it looks like it's C, because this passes through at 1 and this one passes through. Oh wait, did I mess up? Yes, I did. Alright, start over. Okay, positive 1, not negative 1, and positive 1. This is going to be, yeah, this is a negative slope. I don't know why I was thinking. Okay, sorry about that. So positive 1, positive 1. I had originally plotted it like the y was negative, but that's not true. That's just an error on my part. So we're looking for a negative slope that passes through at positive 1 and positive 1. So a negative slope, so it could be this one. Positive 1, positive 1. So it's definitely B. Okay. It's okay to make errors. Mistakes are what make your brain grow, because then you remember them more clearly. So number 4 says 8x plus 3y equals negative 9. Okay, now we're finally getting into something that we might actually have to solve. So let's put our finger over the y, and we get 8x equals negative 9. Now I have to divide both sides by 8. And this is going to be, you know, if you take it in your calculator, it's going to give you a decimal, which is fine. It's going to be a negative for one thing, though. But it's 1.125, or 1 1/8 really is what it is. So negative 1.125, or negative 1 1/8. But it's just a little over 1 is really what we're not going to get it exact on a graph, but we need to be able to eyeball it. Okay, the other equation is going to be if I cover up the x's, which is 3y equals negative 9. Now we're going to divide by 3 on both sides. And negative 9 divided by 3 is negative 3. So we have our two intercepts. I need to make sure I don't mess up this time. So I got y equals negative 3, 1, 2, 3, and x equals negative 1 1/8. So let's say that. That's not very far. It's probably too much, but it'll be okay. We're not going to be able to get it exact anyway. All right, so it should be a negative slope, and it should pass through negative 1 1/8 and negative 3. And it looks like it's going to be A. Yeah. Okay, moving along. Number 5. All right, we have 3x minus 2y equals negative 4. Oops, sorry. So the first thing I'm going to do is get rid of my y. And I have 3x equals, I'm just going to write it over here, 3x equals negative 4. So notice that says the same thing, 3x equals negative 4. Now I'm going to solve this one. I'm going to divide by 3 on both sides. And if you put this in your calculator, you're going to get 1.3 repeating, which is fine. So negative 1.3 repeating, or you can write it as negative 1 1/3. It's easier to graph, I think, as written as a fraction, because you can eyeball the fractions. The next one we have to solve is negative 2y equals negative 4. And we're going to divide both sides by negative 2. And we get that y equals 2. So we're graphing y is positive 2 and x is negative 1 1/3. Let's just leave it, I'll just leave it zoomed in. So x is negative 1 1/3 and y is positive 2. Yes. So here's our graph. So I'm looking for a positive slope, and it's got to pass through positive 2 and negative 1 1/3. And I'm looking here. It looks like it's going to be A, positive 2, negative 1 1/3. This one doesn't pass through that. C and D. D is the only other one that possibly could be it, but it's not. So it has to be A. Okay. Number 6. X minus 5y equals 20. So I'm going to cover up my y. I'm going to have to use x equals 20. That's a really big one there. And then I'm going to cover up my x, and I get negative 5y equals 20. Divide by negative 5. 20 divided by negative 5 is negative 4. So I have a pretty big span here. When I'm doing my graph, I'm going to have to jump by something other than 1s, because I got to make it all the way to 20 on the x-axis. So I'm going to jump by 2s. So jumping by 2s, I'm going to go over 10 spots to get to 20. And jumping by 2s on the y-axis, I'm going to jump by just 2 spots. So I have to zoom out here. Alright, so 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. And then the other one was negative 4. Okay. So negative 4. So negative 2, negative 4. Now I'm going to connect these points. And you'll notice that it's a really gradual line, because if you did the math, it would be a 1/5, slope of a 1/5. So we're looking for a gradual line that passes through negative 4 here and positive 20 here. But they're not going to show us the whole graph, so we're just going to have to look at it. And zooming back in here. If I look at this, of course it can't be A. A is just ridiculous. That's not even possible. B, it could be, but it doesn't pass through negative 4, so that's out. C is a negative slope, so that's out. So it has to be D, which it is, because it passes through negative 4. It's a really gradual slope, and eventually it should hit 20. So it's definitely D. Okay, positives, positive 7. Number 7, it is positive, but okay, 2x plus y equals negative 2. And I'm going to cover up each variable by itself. So I got 2x equals 2, or equals negative 2. And then I'm going to go ahead and do this one, and it says y equals negative 2. So we already have one of them solved for, which is the y. But I still have to solve for the x. So I'm going to divide both sides by 2. and I get that x is -1. So my y-intercept and my x-intercept is -1, and y-intercept is -2. So we're back to being able to jump by ones. So x is -1 and y is -2. And I'm going to create my line. It's good to create the line because you can kind of get a feel for how steep or how not steep it is. I can't think now what my words would be. But if we look, we're looking for a line that looks like this. It's a negative slope. And the only option we have really are C or D, because the other two don't have negative slopes. So looking at C, it passes through -1 and -2, so that's good. And this one doesn't, so it has to be C. Okay, number 8. Number 8 says 4x plus 5y equals 20. And I'm going to go ahead and solve this one. So 4x equals 20. And then this one is going to be 5y equals 20. So I have them both set up. I'm going to solve each of them. So I'm going to divide by 4 on both sides. So x is 5. And then I'm going to divide by 5 on both sides here. And x and y is 4. So there's my two intercepts. So I'm going to graph those. So x is 5 and y is 4. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. And y is 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to connect those. And if I back up, I can kind of see that it's a negative slope, and it passes through at +4 and +5. So I'm looking for that on my graph. And I can tell already it has to be A. Passes through at +4 on the y and +5 on the x. So it's definitely A. So take a minute and look at that on your sheet. I know that that's really small on the screen, but you have your copy in front of you. Make sure you agree with it. And if you don't, you need to ask for help. Okay, the next one, I don't really need to, well, yeah, I will. I will write it down. The next one is different. It just says x equals 4. So what does that even mean? Well, x equals -4. What does that even mean? Like, a lot of kids have a really hard time figuring out, is this a horizontal line or is this a vertical line? Which I don't blame you. What I always do is I make an x and y chart. If x is -4, that means no matter what point I pick, x is going to be -4. So no matter what's happening over here in y, it doesn't matter. No matter what, x will always be -4. So let's just plot these points. So we got -4, 0, -4, 1, -4, 2. So let me be really, really clear what I'm talking about. I am going to plot these points. And when I plot those points, it's going to become really obvious what this line looks like. Because x is -4. That's all they told us. So x will always be -4. So -4, 1, 2, 3, 4. -4, 0 is here. -4, 1 is here. -4, 2 is here. Notice it's starting to make a vertical line. That means that the whole, no matter what I pick, it's going to be a vertical line, and my line is horrible. But we're looking for a vertical line at -4. So let's see which one it is. and we can tell that it's B. This is the line here, and it's at -4. The same thing would be true if it were Y. Let's just do a Y. If it was Y equals 3, then I would create an XY chart, and Y would always be 3. Okay, let's just do 0, 1, and 2. So I'm going to plot 0, 3. So 0, 3 is here, and then I had 1, 3, so that would be here, and 2, 3 would be here. That's going to make a horizontal line at 3. So the Y equals 3 is a horizontal line. X equals -4 is a vertical line. But again, the easiest way to do it is just to make an X and Y chart and just write exactly what they tell you. X is -4, it's always going to be -4, no matter what. If they tell you Y is 3, then Y is always going to be 3, no matter what. And just plot those points. It only takes 10 seconds to plot points. And then you'll have the right answer. So you don't need to guess. You can just get the right answer every time. This is not on your review. I just did it as an extra example. So this is an extra example. All right, number 10. Okay, we have X minus Y equals -5. This is actually an easy one. Again, I'm going to cover this up, and X is -5. We already know that. We don't have to solve anything for that. Then this one is going to be -1. Y equals -5. And I'm just going to solve that. So I'm dividing by -1 on both sides. And Y equals 5. Oops. So my my intercepts are X at -5 and 5 on the Y-axis. So I'm going to go to the Y's first. See if you can make sure you can see this. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's my 2 points. I'm going to connect those two. And so if I back it up, you can kind of tell it's a positive line. It passes through at +5 and at -5, which has to be C. All right, so we are done the review. Graphing with intercepts is it's really not hard, but it is a little different than with the slope intercept. So you have 2 different ways to graph. It just gives you another tool in your tool belt. If you have any questions, as always, please ask.